a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Before we officially start.
Hey, Joe, I have one of these.
New one,
It's a new one.
it's updated.
I like updated. Okay,
I forgot to give it for you.
okay. Well. I moved too fast.
That's okay. No, you didn't. I just saved it.
Just about there. The good thing about the mask, if I have any salad on my teeth, nobody can see it.
There you go.
Okay, it's 12 o'clock, so
All right.
let's get. Because it's just us in the room, we'll not do the pledge of allegiance, I guess. We'll go ahead and go with roll call.
Wayne Brown, Kay Harrison.
Here.
Mike Parker,
Here.
Roger Toll, Jim Snyder. Jim Snyder,
I saw it.
Here.
Present, as was muted.
thank you.
All right,
So just real quick, because we have quite a few people on right now. Everybody who's on Zoom, it just asks that you keep your microphones muted unless you're actually speaking to help avoid with some of the feedback here. We've got, it looks like most of it, there's a fair amount of actual employees who are on board here, and at least one concerned citizen is Alan. Nice to see you. And we've traded a couple of emails back and forth, so she's here to watch and see how we operate.
okay. That sounds good. I like to see everybody here. Even though I'm not seeing everybody here, it's nice. Okay, first order of business, the consent agenda. I need a motion, please. Oh, Roger's here.
Hello.
Hi, Roger.
Hello.
We're just on the first item right now, so.
Yeah, we weren't even hardly late.
All motion that we pass the consent agenda minutes of the regular meeting, July 21st, 2021.
Thank you, Mike.
I have a second.
Thank you, Jim. So it's been moved and and seconded for the consent agenda. Roll call, please.
Kay Harrison,
Yes.
Mike Parker,
Yes.
Roger Toll,
Yes.
Jim Snyder.
Yes.
Thank you. So that's passed. And we're on to resolution 2125, transfer of appropriations in FY 2021 budget.
Okay, you want to take that one, Brenda?
Yep, got it. So as I wrapped up the fourth quarter, oh, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so as I was wrapping up the fourth quarter of fiscal year 21, there were just a few more items, expenses that we went over budget. However, we did have the contingency set up for those in the 3 areas listed on the resolution. So I just need a approval on this resolution to move money from contingency to those specific items listed.
Okay, can I have a motion, please?
All motion, resolution 2125, transfer of appropriations in FY 2021 budget.
I have a second.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, roll call, please.
Kay Harrison,
Yes.
Mike Parker,
Yes.
Roger Toll,
Yes.
Jim Snyder. Jim Snyder.
Wake up, Jim.
Yes. I was on mute. Hey,
Okay, thank
I was
you.
told to mute.
Okay, resolution number 2127.
Okay, this is for the purchase of a couple of new dump trucks. Shane, you want to elaborate?
Yep, this is for 2 new chassis and 2 new 12-yard dump beds, and there'll be a complete unit with tag axles. We'll be able to utilize the 12-yard dump and dump beds. We're currently not able to use it without the tag axle because we're overweight. So, resolution 2127, award a quote for 2 new 12-yard dump trucks with tag axles to DSU. They submitted the only quote we got, and they're part of the Oregon Cooperative Purchasing Program, of which we pay to be a member of. So the total would be $403,554.
And just for the board to know, that cooperative program we have, that's run through the state. And they do all of the competitive bidding for that. And so we're able to just use their process. We're able to just buy directly from the supplier because they've already gone through the competitive bid process with the state. It makes it a lot more easy.
And when will we take possession of the,
Tentatively, we will be somewhere around February or March.
Okay.
Assuming everything goes smoothly and there's no potential processing chip issues, which is kind of affecting the whole industry. But currently, the foundries that are making the processing chips have doubled production. So hopefully, we're kind of coming out of that here in the next few months.
okay,
I
thanks,
think Roger
Shane.
had a question.
Yes, is Western Systems the organization that you buy it through?
Who was the?
Western Systems?
The bottom of the resolution
No.
lists their name.
Oh, no, sorry, that's a mistake.
Okay, we need to take that over.
Yeah, that needs to be DSU Peterbilt.
Good catch,
Are
Roger.
we on item 3? I've been jumping around, so.
Yeah, the one that's up on the screen here, it is, tab 3.
Thank you.
So where does this say? Oh,
So this item,
Right now, I'm on, I'm on the agenda.
Oh,
But,
you're-
yeah.
yeah, so up on the screen, this last item where it says Western Systems,
Third,
that should
it's the
say
third
DSU
page.
Peterbilt.
Yeah, DSU Peterbilt's mentioned in the second paragraph.
Okay.
So on the side over here, the third page. Just a minute to get it to. Thanks, Jen. She usually has to do that for me. I'm trying to get with it. Okay. I need did we get a motion for that?
We don't have a motion
we
yet.
don't have much.
Do you have any other questions on this? Okay, then I'll need a motion.
I
I'd motion, but I'm not sure. I got lost on the screen.
Yeah, well, there was an error in the actual resolution, so we would need to correct the motion to make sure that that last sentence says the contract is between Rogue Valley Sewer Services and DSU Peterbilt.
For resolution 2127.
Yes,
Fourth paragraph.
so if you want to amend your motion to include that change.
I motion that we include the Peterbilt thing and all, resolution 2127, and award the quote.
That works.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Roger. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Kate Harrison,
Yes.
Mike Parker,
Yes.
Roger Twelve,
Yes.
Jim Snyder.
Yes,
Thank you. It's, motion is passed. And now, fourth quarter financial update, Brenda.
Okay, so we have the unaudited fourth quarter fiscal year 21 financial statements. If you go to page 5, I just wanted to point out that we did receive $172,000 reimbursement from the CARES Act. And since we did not reach their $750,000 threshold for a single audit, we do not have to pay for a single audit this year. So that's a plus. And then as you know, we've, oh, go
How
ahead.
much was the single audit that we saved?
They're typically between 10 to 15,000.
Can we split that
Extra.
with the board?
Well, we don't, it's kind of a moot point because we don't have to have one. I confirmed it with our auditors, last week.
Okay,
So we just have our normal, it was about, I think it was 20,000 is what the, bid is for this year for their audit services.
well, good job in saving us that money, Brenda.
Oh, yes. I told the feds not to give us so much money.
Good.
Okay, so going onward, as we've talked about all fiscal year 21, we had to move a lot of our capital projects to this year, or just held them back because we were working on the service abandonment due to the Alameda fires. And so when you look on page 6, you see the rehab projects. We were down a little over 2 million of what we had budgeted to do, but I believe we have budgeted those for fiscal year 22, but we spent a lot of time in fiscal year 21 doing the stormwater work and the capping the lines where the Alameda fires happened. And that was all to note. You guys have any questions?
I do want to point out on the revenue side of it, you can see our service charges. We're about 5% below budget on revenue, and that's really a direct impact from the fire. What happened there? So that's the biggest impact we saw. We were concerned about loss of SDC revenue also, and you can see that did not happen.
No.
Because there was building going on.
Yeah, there was lots of, I mean, our concern was that so much would be focused on rebuilding that the new construction would slow down, but it really hasn't.
I think getting everything ready to start building out there. Okay, any other questions?
Just wondering, does FEMA jump in there to make up for lost revenue due to the fire?
They do not. No, FEMA reimburses for actual direct expenses that you incur in recovering from it. So the lost revenue, that doesn't happen. That was Special Districts Association was trying to push really hard for the latest. What was it? I can't remember what they called it, but it was the coronavirus money that came earlier this year. And all the cities and counties just got big fat checks. And the special districts got nothing. And you know, special districts was trying to push real hard to try to get special districts to get a slice of that for that very reason, because there is going to be lost revenues from the pandemic, but nothing ever came of it. We weren't successful.
Well, that's too bad, because some of the districts could have used that.
Yeah.
Even more than, it'd be nice for us, but some of the districts really benefited too.
Right.
Okay, next, thank you, Brenda. Project updates.
Thank you.
Nick?
Yeah, can you hear me?
That one wasn't on there for some reason. No.
I clicked on it, it went right there. I'm hearing it.
Agenda, so you can just click on the line item.
Oh, you gotta keep going down. Can you hear me?
Search engines on.
Now we can.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
starting at the top, it doesn't look like I'm on the screen, but I'll just,
I don't have you on my computer for some reason. I think I got the wrong.
it's okay. Well, I'll just roll with it. J124, West Glenwood Pump Station Rehab. This is a really small pump station that we have down south, I guess, South Medford. It's in the county, but it's south of Medford. Serves 5 lots. It's so small that it doesn't make sense to do our standard flight duplex solids handling pump configuration that we have for most of our pump stations. So what we did was we went with an E1 grinder pump option where we put 2 of our E1 grinder pumps that we use for our common pressure sewer systems. And they have an option for this. The manufacturer does. This doesn't fit in DEQ's box for approval of their standard approval from municipal pump stations. So I was a little concerned on submitting. I submitted last week, and I ended up actually talking to the engineer at DEQ yesterday, and it turned into them just basically rubber stamping the approval and us and picking our brains on how we implement these E1 systems in our common pressure sewer systems, because it sounds like they're going to update their standard for common their standard step stag systems standards, sorry, for those systems. And they're going to include the grinder pump option. And so it was kind of a cool situation where we were able to get on the ground floor on their standard writing, and they're really curious on how we did it. And so hopefully we'll see how those standards come out in the future. But we have 2 other pump stations that we're going to do the exact same thing with here in the coming months. So that one's off to the races. This J325 Arborwood Pump Station, this one's kind of been quiet for a while. Our wet well's being constructed up in Canada. I just received an email this week, and it sounds like they are planning to be able to deliver that station in the middle of September. So we're going to have to plan on either being able to put it in when they deliver it or store it on site and get it all done. But we'll definitely be able to get that done this year, it sounds like, this calendar year. J331 Oak Valley Sewer Reconstruction. This project, if you guys remember, is a large project for reimbursement district and talent. It's 3,100 feet. It's basically complete at this point. It sounds like they have to do some trench resurfacing, and I think Carl is negotiating with the contractor on what that's going to entail. There was some damaged asphalt out there, but that one is pretty much done at this point. We'll have to do some administrative stuff and as-built for it, but that's about it. J332, the Central Point Force Main Rehab. This project was awarded last month. The contracts are complete, and we should be working on some middles for the project, manholes, pipe, that sort of thing. I added about a month and a half for procurement on this, just because it's been really hard for contractors to get a hold of pipe and manholes. And it sounds like that this project's going to be no different. So this has a completion date of November, about the middle of November. So it might be a little while before they get going. We'll see. J337 Schaefer Lane Rehab. This project was a small project in Southwest Medford. Our construction crew did this. It's about 281 feet of pipe. It's just a slam dunk. They completed it really fast. They did a good job on it, and it's done. J340 Talent Mobile Estates. This is similar. This is one of those projects we were able to get on because in Talent, because of the Alameda fire, we were able to relocate a main that's in a really poor location down the middle of 2 runs of mobile homes that were right on top of it. We relocated it out into the drive aisle of the mobile home park, got an easement from the property owner, and our crews are actually basically done with this project too. So they did a great job on that. We just got to go out there and get our as-built survey done on it. And then moving right along, done pump station replacement. This project's moving well at this point. We've got all our administrative stuff taken care of with the contractor. We had a few change orders. Just a some things that, one thing that was missed on the plans, there was some grading in the bottom of the wet well that wasn't shown on the plans, so the contractor had to deal with that. And then a couple material changes that because the contractor couldn't get a hold of a specific type of stainless steel that was required for some of the valves. Other than that, there was a lot of arguing with the contractor because delays and things like that, but we did shift the completion date out to the middle of October for this project. And I believe I've mentioned this before, but we got that completion date finalized with a change order. And it sounds like the contractor is really confident that they'll be able to complete it before that end date, which is great. They didn't ask for any additional time. So that's, at least right now, we'll see what happens. So that's about all I have for projects.
Okay, any questions of Nate, you guys? Okay, thanks, Nate. All right, stormwater update, Jenny?
All right, Carl, do you want to share the document or do you want me to?
I think you need to, because I don't have it on the thing I loaded on my computer for some. I got the wrong one.
Okay,
I've got the preliminary packet, not the final.
okay. So here is your board report. So this should be in the next page in your report document that Joan sent out. So I've kept this real short for this month. We have a intergovernmental agreement that we've been working on with Jackson County for implementation of our MS4 permit program within the county. And we have an existing IGA that we had signed, I think back in 2004 originally, for implementation of the MS4 program. Since we got a new MS4 permit, we needed to update that IGA to cover the current requirements. We went through that process with Phoenix and Talent actually a couple of years ago. And it's just taken this much more time to get there with Jackson County. So at this point, the county staff has agreed to the IGA. The county's attorney has agreed to the IGA as drafted. And so I'm bringing it to you guys, our board, for your review. And this will be your first time review, ask any questions you have, and then we'll bring it back next month for approval, and then it will be going to the county's Board of Commissioners. So let's see if I just scroll down here. So this is the document. Basically what it does is it outlines what we are required to do for implementation of the MS4 program. So section 2 is the duties of RVSS. And those underlined subheadings, those are the program areas that they're in the permit, and the permit has very specific criteria and things we have to implement. And in our IGA, we state the things that we will be doing to implement those parts of the program. We talk about our requirements for annual reporting and the deadlines and the needs that we have from the county for us to submit our annual reports and dates. We also will be providing them documentation for their annual TMDL report. They have to report, that's a separate requirement that the county has to report on to DEQ, but there's a lot of things that we do as part of the MS4 program that go into their TMDL meeting of those requirements. So we report on that. One of the requirements of the permit is actually for us to present to the leadership of each of our respective co-permittees on some kind of, at least I think it's at least once per permit term. And the county did not want to put a requirement specifically in the IGA to allow us to go before the commissioner. So the way that it got worded is that if requested by Jackson County, RVSS will give the county commissioners an update of the program. In the almost 10 years I've been here, we have never been requested to go before the county board of commissioners to update them on the program. So I doubt that that's ever going to come up. But it is a requirement of our permit. So. And then the next section is the duties of the county. So these are the things that the county will be doing to meet the requirements of the permit. So there's obviously things that, you know, they will need to do in their own operations to be in compliance with stormwater requirements. And there's requirements for them to do tracking of that and turn that in. Then we go into how we're going to coordinate, and then kind of your standard IGA stuff about dispute resolution. And I'll just note that all the language in here from the dispute resolution on down has all been modified. It's not the standard language that RVSS has used in our other IGAs. This was all modified by the county's attorney. So, but our attorney has also reviewed it and said, fine. And then the figures are just showing the area that this would apply within. And so all of those red hashed areas are designated MS4 areas, and that boundary is set by US EPA. And so those are the areas where our MS4 program applies. So within the city limits of City of Phoenix, that's the City of Phoenix's area, and we have our IGA with Phoenix for that. And then within the city limits of Talent, we have our IGA with the City of Talent for that. But all of the hashed areas outside the City of Phoenix and outside the City of Talent are under our IGA with the county. And then the second figure is specific to what's called the White City Comprehensive Plan area. And this only pertains to what's called the post-construction stormwater implementation portion of the permit, which is where we're required to have a program to manage stormwater runoff that's generated as a result of development or redevelopment. And the way we've worded the IGA is there will be different thresholds within this White City area and outside of it for when the post-construction requirements apply. So I know that's kind of a lot to take in and understand. If anybody has any questions though, I'm happy to try and answer those.
The question I have is, do you have questions about it, or do you agree with all of it?
Well, I've been working on it for a number of years, and I guess this is where we've gotten to after all this time. So I'm glad we've gotten somewhere that everybody's kind of agreed to.
Good.
So like Jenny, you said their lawyer looked at it, our lawyer looked at it, the lawyers are good with it.
Yeah. You know, and you know, Jenny won't mention it, but I will. One of the bigger issues that we tried to resolve in this is with the post-construction stormwater management, which is the facilities that people are required to build when they build a development to protect stormwater long-term. An issue that we have is them not finishing them or completing them, and then the county goes and finalizes the building permit, people move into the building, and then it gets forgotten. And we tried to get that addressed. Try to turn this off. I'm sorry, that's inopportune. Anyway, so we tried to incorporate that into this agreement, and the county fought that very hard. The building department basically said, you know, we can't do it, we won't do it, it's not, yeah. So we got a little bit of language in there about using code enforcement, things like that to make sure compliance.
Good luck. Let me know. You're coming back after?
Okay. Anyway, you know, so there's a couple of little provisions like that where, you know, I mean, it's a negotiation, so we didn't get everything we wanted out of it, but I think what we got.
Okay, so if they're required to do something before they get their permit marked off, but it's not getting done. And it's only the county that can. Yeah,
yes. So the issue on that is you know, what we tried to say is you don't give them the certificate of occupancy until it's, all the permit requirements are done. And their argument is that that's not their requirement, so they can't enforce it on the C of O. It's convoluted, and it's hard for me to explain because I don't really agree with the logic.
I don't buy it either, okay?
But they've been pretty adamant about that from the very start, and you know, we weren't able to make any traction there. But we did get some provisions about, you know, using their code enforcement provisions and enforcing that way. So, you know, it's like I said, it's not as good as we'd like it to be in that area in particular, but I think it's as good as we're going to get.
So the rules that come down for that, that's from DEQ, right? For the stormwater stuff.
Yes, indirectly. I mean, DEQ sets the rules and we have to,
Enforce. it,
right,
or-
yeah,
or-
yeah.
or- Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha, thank you. Anything else, Jenny, on this?
Well, if there's, I guess, are there any other questions from anybody? So if no other questions on that, I'll just mention the only other thing I put on my report for this month is that we are currently in a DEQ audit of our stormwater program. Actually just started that this morning. DEQ has been auditing all of the phase 2 stormwater programs, which our program is a phase 2 program. They actually started the audits a couple years ago. We have been held until the end due to the fact that Jackson County was party to the litigation on the MS4 permit. So now that that litigation has been resolved, we are now getting our audit performed. Doesn't seem like it'll be anything too extraordinary. It's pretty much following our annual report process, which we are also currently under. And so I'll be bringing the annual report and the audit documentation to the board either September or October at the board meeting for approval, and then it'll go to DEQ.
Okay. Thank you, Jenny.
Before you get up.
Go ahead.
Hey, Jenny,
Yeah,
I think you should tell us about the award you received from the Association of Clean Water Agencies.
Are you giving awards and not telling us?
well, yeah, so our stormwater program, we were recognized for all the work that we did for the Alameda fire recovery, for protection of the stormwater system there. It was, I think they called it a leadership recognition award. So yeah, that was pretty nice for us to get recognized there.
That's pretty nice.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's good. There's not a lot of leadership out there, so that's pretty cool, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up, Roger. Appreciate that. Okay. Ready? O&M report, Shane?
Good afternoon. Rotational footages, we flushed a total of 24,241 feet and video inspected 30,685. White City Storm Drain, we flushed a total of 7,168 feet. Special cleaning, flushed 9,866 and root sawed 10,657 feet. So between the White City Storm Drain and special cleaning, that's why rotational footages as far as flushing are concerned are down, because you spent the majority of the month dealing with those things. Request, video inspected 172 feet, flush 2,767. New construction, flush and video inspected 1,036 feet. Out in the lagoons, the treatment department had a real nice month, receiving 240,640 gallons of septage, 53,460 gallons of porta potty waste, and 33,617 gallons of fog for a total of $49,157.55. Gold Hill, some routine special cleaning at 704 feet. And our special clean summary, result of the flushing and root sawing, we spent 71.5 equipment hours and 163 labor hours last month for a total of $10,842.94. Pump stations all were quiet. That's a good thing. Building and grounds and fog, nothing to report. You know, we had mentioned we were doing some light inspections on fog, but with the recent uptick in our construction projects, our fog program coordinator has been assisting the construction crew to get those knocked out. So we kind of put those back on hold for the time being. And vehicle and equipment, we did receive our new construction truck and our backhoe trailer, and they're out and being used. So that's a good thing. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Shane. Does anyone have any questions?
How did the Gold Hill flush go for you?
I think it's business as usual, but
Okay.
I didn't hear of any excitement. It's nice that we're just down to the 704 feet and we're not doing the once or twice a week flush out there on North Riverside in those areas. We spent some of that money and fixed those areas so we don't have to address those anymore. So
Good.
yeah, we just did do some recent TV work for the city out there underneath Swedes last week, having some storm drain issues. So we were able to assist the city in determining that they did have some storm drain that did belong to them. And there's some issues with Swedes that's backing up into their shop. So it looks like there'll be a collaborated effort between those two as a result of our TV work to remedy that issue once and for all finally.
Thanks, Shane.
Okay, Carl.
Okay. All right, all right. I got a couple of meaty ones here for us to discuss. So I guess the first one is related to the pandemic. Obviously, we're back on indoor mask mandates, and we got doing a bunch of stuff remotely. One of the things that came with the governor's order is that she made an order for all of state employees to be vaccinated by, I think it was October 18th, and then had a strong recommendation for all local governments and private employers to follow suit and do the same. So I think that it is incumbent on us to address that question and come up with an answer of how we're going to respond to that. I know that there's a handful of people of our staff who are actually on this Zoom meeting following intently.
Thank you for being here, guys.
But I think what I want to do on this is, have a somewhat robust discussion with the board on what you think our policy should be going forward. I know just kind of lay out the situation and what's happening right now. I'm sure you're well aware that by pretty much any metric that we're looking at with the pandemic, things are bad now and probably worse than they've ever have been here in Jackson County in particular, probably Oregon as a whole. I just looked this morning and our hospital region has one available ICU bed. So that's somewhat dire. Within our organization itself, we did have a couple of people last fall who ended up getting infected.
You have somebody in the waiting room. Did you let them in?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I didn't see it pop up there.
She accidentally booted out and had to get back.
Oh, okay. All right. Welcome back, whoever you are. So with us, like I said, we had a couple of people last fall who ended up getting sick with COVID. had to quarantine and all that. More recently, we've had one employee test positive, and that required us to quarantine 2 others. We had another employee whose spouse tested positive and had to quarantine. And as of yesterday, I've got another one on quarantine because of exposures, outside. My number one priority really is, keeping the system operational. And the biggest fear I have is that we get into a situation where we have a big chunk of our employees unavailable because they're being quarantined or they're sick. And that's, I think that's a real concern. Obviously, one way to avoid that is to have more widespread vaccination use. And that would mitigate a big part of that. So at any rate, the way I see it right now is we kind of have 3 choices that we can make. We can do nothing, just kind of continue what we're doing right now. Follow the mask requirements, mandates, and the quarantine stuff. We could implement a vaccine mandate, and a lot of places, obviously the state's doing that. State of California is doing that. Federal government's doing that. There's quite a lot of private companies that are doing it to various degrees. The EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the federal agency, they ruled when the vaccine first came out that was perfectly legal thing to do. And Oregon's Bureau of Labor and Industries also says it's a legal thing to do. So it's not a question of legality of whether or not you can do it. It is a question, so it's a decision of whether or not you should. And then I guess the last option would be to try to, rather than try to mandate it, go the other way and try to incentivize it. And that's another approach that we could take is give a cash reward. Everyone who does the vaccine can get some kind of extra bonus because of that. So,
Or beer or 2.
or whatever. Yeah, some places have done that where they go into bars and you get a free beer if you get a vaccine. That's those are really the choices that we have before us. As far as how effective each approach would be, I think people have really strong opinions about this, and regardless, whatever you decide, I can guarantee you there's going to be people who are mad about it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where we are. But I think, like I said, I think we do need to make some kind of decision on this and move forward.
Okay, guys, do you have anything you want to say on this? Jim? Mike? Roger?
Yes.
Go for it. Go, Roger.
So my take, the state requiring state employees to get vaccinated is the state's start. I think the way I would play it is that if it makes it down to Jackson County, that county employees and city employees are being required, then it would make sense that district employees. And I would comment on that, I haven't, much people are so adamant against it that I think you could offer them $1,000 and they're not interested in getting it. That's just my.
I have a tendency to agree with you on that. If they don't want it there, it doesn't matter. What you incentivize them for. If they're not going to get it so they can get on a cruise ship, they're not going to get it for.
So if we somewhat delay it until it makes it more regional instead of just a state thing, it's probably softens the blow. But I don't know what the ramifications are gonna be, people that, you can have people that just quit work and go, wow, you know what?
Like the opportunity. I just also-
Doug. Anyone else, Mike?
Oh, I have pretty strong feelings about it, but I mean, it's almost as strong in people's minds as I'm a Republican. No, I'm a Democrat. And you're not gonna get those two people to agree necessarily with one another. So I think science says the smart thing to do is to get the shot. It's not perfect, but it's made huge holes. And in the latest stats I'm hearing is 100% of the people that they have positive sitting in their beds in our hospitals right now have not had a shot. I mean, we're not talking about a couple of exceptions. We're talking about 100% of the people that they're having to treat in these beds have refused to have the shot. I think for the better of all, and what science is saying is that should be the option we elect.
So Mike,
Yes,
what would be your, like, an implementation date or action that go along your line of thinking?
actual what?
Implementation date or any other, basically that, what time frame?
Right. It seems to me I just heard a number that is next month, mid next month, and I think that makes a lot of sense. We can't wait forever. We can't put dates way out there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I know,
No, doctor, I'm just trying to state what I feel.
So I guess I'd like to kind of frame this, as somewhat of a policy question and just ask,
Yeah.
What is the obligation that we have as an organization, both to our employees and to our public? What is the obligation that an employee has to their fellow employees to help mitigate this pandemic? And is it the function of us as an organization to try to encourage, coax, force, however we want to do it, our employees to be part of the solution to this?
Jim Snyder here. I keep getting these little notes that my internet connection is a little waffly, so I'm not sure if you can hear me or not. Sometimes I don't hear all of you, so I'll just chime in. The way I look at it was I was elected by the people who are the customers of RVSS to ensure that we give them the products that they want. That's number one. I wasn't elected by the management of the company or the people who work in the company, although some of them may have actually voted for me. I don't know. But my obligation as a board member is to the people who are the customers. So anything that hinders the ability of RVSS to provide adequate services for which the people are already paying means that we have to have a workaround. I've kind of thought about this a lot, and I know that there's some people who, for whatever reasons, it could be religious, it could be political, it could be just themselves, somehow fear or don't want shots. And that's okay, because there will be consequences for their decisions, as there are consequences for every decision as human beings that we make, some positive, some negative. But looking at it from delivery of products and services, I think we need to do an assessment of just who it is, what jobs they have, rather, that are not going to, under any circumstances, whether you bribe them or whether you just ask them or demand, going to get their shots. They will have a consequence at some time if they come in contact with somebody who's disease-ridden. The probability of that is somewhat low, but seems to be getting higher because we've had more cases in the county. I think that we need to have a backup plan for hiring and replacing them, because when they get sick, they can't perform. And I think any employee that we have who isn't focused on delivering products and services on time, meeting or exceeding standards at a below cost, is not doing their job for us. And we need to find a way to work around the fact that they're going to not want to do this. Only thing I can think of is we start a roster of where can we find people to replace them, so while they're sick, we can still do what we're doing. And then the question is, when they get all done with their disease riddenness, which is, probably going to be 2 or 3, 4, 5 people, are they willing to come back to work for us because now they have a focus on our customers, or whether we just leave the new people in place? And my suggestion is start looking for new hires to replace and back up those who just are not going to get the product, so that we can still meet our obligations. Carl's probably going to say it's in the too hard box to do because there's not enough people out, blah, blah, blah. But outside of that, I don't know, because we're going to degrade what we do to our customers if we just allow things to spin out of control. On the other hand, I'm not so sure you can move the mountain with a lot of these people. So, rock in a hard place kind of thing. We need to find a workaround that accommodates the fact that some people are just not going to do the smart thing. I've had both shots. My wife's had both shots. Part of my military career had to do with biological warfare, defense against an application of on an offensive manner. And I will tell you, if you don't have vaccinations, although this wasn't necessarily a military thing, viruses will get you. They will get you based on propinquity, how close you are to someone who has the disease. A lot of people don't want to get the shots for whatever reason, that's fine. And by law of propinquity, they haven't come in contact with anybody to give it to them. But if they do, beware, not a good thing. Governor of, Texas yesterday, double shot supposedly, but still caught it. So that's my general thoughts. We have to protect our customers at all costs. We have to deliver the services and goods that they are paying us for. We just need to find a workaround that we can actually do. That's all.
Okay, Jim, thank you for your thoughts on that. I appreciate where you're coming from. We do have an obligation to the people in the valley that we serve, but we also have an obligation to the people that help us do that service, that the people that work here. And both the people that have already got the shot, didn't feel any, and the people that are hesitant. I totally understand the hesitation for that. What the governor said is she would like everybody to have the shot as soon as it's, no later than when the FDA does the full approval, or by October 18th, whichever is later. I've been on both sides of this thing for a very long time. And I understand where each person is coming from. And I also have seen the fear that's been built up in this nation because of this pandemic. It's not necessarily that the fear is unwarranted. To some degree it is, but it's dividing us. And I don't want to see that happen here. To me, it's important to be able to provide the service, and it's important for me to take care of the people that have worked so hard for us. This last year that everybody's been through. I just, it's really important to listen and to understand where people are coming from. And almost all of this is driven by fear. And it's not necessarily all driven by science. A lot of it is driven by fear. I like what Roger said. I want to kind of put it out there for a little while. The FDA has not fully approved any of the vaccines yet. Pfizer's supposed to be probably approved in September. I don't know about the Moderna or the Johnson & Johnson, but I know that the Pfizer's supposed to come up probably in September. So I would like to see us, think about it. I want to hear from the employees. I know a lot of people feel it's very selfish for other people not to get the vaccine, and then people that don't want to get it feel it's very selfish of the people that's got it to shame them into doing something that they don't want to do. Neither, it's just, it makes it really hard. It makes it hard on the working relationship that has been built around here for people to be able to do their jobs. And we've got to figure out a way to understand where this is coming from and how to take care of ourselves and our families and our coworkers in a way that's respectful.
Mike Parsons has his hand up.
Huh?
Mike Parsons has his hand up.
Mike, go ahead. Take over.
I didn't say.
Oh, unmute myself. I listened to everything you guys have said so far. Jim Snyder, you made a fantastic statement. Could have been clearer, but one special item comes into here. We have to be prepared for the consequences.
That's true.
If you demand that employees have to be vaccinated, I heard on the news today that there's a business in town that's paying their employees 2 weeks' wages because they can't work because they're unvaccinated. It's going to get worse. It's no secret here. I work at the police department. There's no secret here. I'm the president of the board of directors in the Meadows office this morning. We have a mask mandate for our community center. Gentleman walked inside. I very pleasantly asked him to please wear a mask. He refused. I got called a liberal, pinko communist. This guy pointing his finger at my nose, daring me to get up out of my chair. It's going to get worse, but you have to be prepared for whatever decision you make. It's not an easy one. I've been going through this for 16 months in the Meadows, shut everything down, trying to protect our elderly residents. And there is more hate floating around in this community just because we're trying to protect our citizens who still want to play shuffleboard, still want to play poker every Thursday and Friday nights, still want to play Mexican Train, and they don't want to wear their masks. So whatever you do, you have to prepare for, as Jim Snyder stated, about getting a few employees in line just in case you have to make a move. And thank you for hearing my suggestions.
I agree with Jim too, because we're going to have plan Bs.
That's kind of why I said that people have made up their minds, the lines are drawn. You're not going to get much movement. Maybe you can bribe a couple of people with a lot of money, but it's not going to be a solution. I want to see a solution that keeps our customers provided with their goods and services. And that really, to me, is a workaround for these people that are just not going to do what we've asked them to. Because it appears to me, it would appear to me anyway, that they place themselves at a higher status than they do our customers. Question is that the kind of people you actually want working for the company? People who care more about themselves than they do about the customers. Got to think through that one a little bit. You know, I'm not putting anybody down for doing that. Group out there, they're just not going to do it until they catch it. And they're not going to catch it until they get around somebody who actually has it. So, you know, all we can do is find a way to make sure our customers are supported fully. And for that, it takes more people than you got right now. Because some people drop offline for whatever reason, illness, or they just get mad at you and quit. Doesn't matter. You're going to have a backup plan to plug somebody in, to stand in the line and take, you know, charge and go do their thing. I know it's in the hard box, but I don't see another solution. That's all.
So do you have a direction for me?
Well, sounds like from Jim Snyder and from Mike, they're all for asking folks to be vaccinated or not have a job.
I don't think we have to decide.
No,
In
nobody
August,
wants,
I
nobody
think-
wants to decide.
I
That's
think
why
September board
I'm
meeting,
putting this to you.
I think September board meeting is a readdress the
Yeah.
issue.
But we're definitely gonna have to address it, because we can't kick down the road much longer, because the state, the feds are gonna do it, because this is what they wanna do. And then we're gonna have to police it, because not only are you gonna have to get the first set of vaccines, you're gonna have to have boosters on top of that, because they're coming out with that. So if they're gonna make us have the first set of vaccines, then we're gonna have to police the boosters after that. So this is gonna be an ongoing thing, not just for this year, but ongoing. And we gotta think of that too.
If I may.
Go ahead.
Whose hands up, Shane?
Shane, go ahead.
Well, I guess I never thought I'd be in a position right now discussing the possibility that someone else might make a medical decision for me. I've heard the arguments from the board, and I'm going to tell you that nobody here is an anti-vaxxer. Okay. The governor is strongly suggesting it.
Yeah.
That's fine. But you're going to have people that aren't comfortable with politicians making medical decisions for them. And you can understand why. And the board has to reach a point, are they comfortable with mandating something like this? And then where does it end? You just alluded to it. You know their boosters are coming. That's going to happen. Are you now going to require boosters? And then where does it end from there? Chicken pox, shingles, meningitis, Hep A, Hep B. Maybe we can just go on down the list. Note, you know, the employees have some skepticism, and I don't understand when that became a bad thing. You know, it hasn't been around very long. The vaccine hasn't. People just want more data so they can make an informed personal health decision. You know, 4 to 6 months ago, you were told if you got a vaccine, you weren't going to need a mask. Well, you're wearing a mask. You know, what's going to happen 4 to 6 months from now, we don't know. All the charts have been wrong. All the analysis has been off. And you don't know what kind of underlying health conditions the employees have here that you're going to be requiring to get vaccinated. I have one of my staff members who just recently was in the emergency room and then admitted to the hospital. He has an 18-inch long blood clot in his leg, and he's got a blood clot that goes from the back of his neck all the way to his forehead. He was determined that he has a blood disorder that creates this problem, and now it has to take blood thinners the rest of his life to mitigate that. You know,
And we have a
Do
vaccine
you-
that don't cause blood clots.
you know, yeah, it's like you don't know. You know, you could be at a potential where this guy's going to get worried. He's not going to seek out the proper medical advice. He gets a vaccination. I can tell you that during that process, he was asked at least 5 times if he had been vaccinated. He wasn't asked because they were concerned if he had COVID. He was asked because they were concerned he got vaccinated and this created the problem. So that's concerning. And I don't, you know, you're going to have medical exemptions. You're going to have religious exemptions, you know, and then there's the moral issues. Like we've created, you know, nothing's perfect. Nothing's perfectly safe. We've created this culture of safetyism where we want to save everybody from every single thing. And at what cost? You know, the cost of our sanity, our way of life, people's anxiety. I don't know. We've amassed an awesome team here. And are we willing to jeopardize people leaving? I don't know. I mean, Jim, those comments are a bit concerning to me because, you know, I've spent 6-7 years amassing a great group of people over here. They're the best at what they do. I don't think that they're replaceable at the snap of a finger. The job market is strong right now, and I assure you, these employees know their value. There is a thirst out there in the job market for these people. They are being solicited regularly during work hours from other companies to come work for them. Is that worth losing over this? I don't know. That's a question you guys have to decide. And does that save us having to start over? How many years will it take to replace those employees? It will take years. You know, I don't know. I do appreciate you guys. I do appreciate your volunteerism, and I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.
Shane, Jim Snyder here. I fully agree with the first half of what you were talking about. I'll just divide it into 2 pieces. The first half, because I think it's too hard in a democracy, which we are in, although we actually live in a republic, to force people to do things against their will. It doesn't work very well. And as you said, there's a myriad of reasons why not. My concern is how do we pick up the pieces when they don't do the vaccination for whatever good reason they have? How do we as a company pick up the pieces and continue to provide support to the people who are paying us for it? Okay. And I know that the replacement of people will be very hard. I said it was in the too hard box in the very beginning and probably wouldn't fly. But I don't see another solution out there to continue to do the job that we are paid to do as a company when people put themselves at risk for whatever reason. The probability of them getting sick, probably 2%, 5%. But when it happens, it's not a good thing. And we need a backup plan. So I understand what you're saying, and I fully agree people shouldn't be forced to do things. But there are consequences to those decisions. And the consequences are to our customer. That's what I'm trying to protect. That's why I was elected to the board, to make sure that our customers got quality service on time at the right price. So I'm still searching. If we don't have people to back them up, what other solution is other than degradation of service? I don't know. I'm hoping somebody here knows, because I sure don't. So yeah, I agree with everything you said. Well presented and all that. And there's all kinds of myriad of reasons why people don't want to do things. They're afraid of it. They want to wait 20 years to get their shots. I understand all that, and I'm not against it. I'm not for mandating it because I know that goes counter to our democratic processes. I'm only here to try to figure out how we pick up the pieces when it falls apart because of decisions that people have made. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm looking for a workaround solution so that when things go wrong, they don't go wrong for more than a day or two. So we can actually provide what we're supposed to our customers. So that's kind of where I'm at. No mandate, but find a management solution to the probability that bad things are going to happen to some of the people who don't take the shots, and keep our customers satisfied. That's all.
I think Mike Parsons is raising his hand.
Mike? Hi, Mike, go ahead.
Okay, I have a lot of respect for what Shane had to say, and I agree with him 100%. I think what Carl's asking for is some kind of direction. And it sounds like at this point, you really don't have a firm direction yet. Now, I know the city of Central Point is looking at the same issue with police officers, office staff throughout. There are some people who have selected not to have a shot. I have respect for all of those. But I think what Rogue Valley Sewer Service has to do is get some kind of an idea of how many employees you're talking about. You never want to mandate anything. I think, if I'm not wrong here, you have mandated masks in the buildings, number one. Do you have an approximate figure of how many employees you're talking about? If it gets to a point where it's a problem, you find a position within the organization for the time being for those that are not vaccinated or don't want to be vaccinated or who medically can't take a vaccine, to find a position for them. So when this is all clear, you haven't lost your employees. You have to find a way to retain them and restrain them at the same time, but leave a job of sorts for them to come back to when this is all over or until they change their mind to get vaccinated. It's a tough position. I mean, I cringe with the city of how many employees that are not vaccinated, and I respect their decision. If I wasn't involved with the city and the police department and the senior retirement committee like I am, I probably wouldn't be either, because I have compromising conditions. But I made that choice. Some people don't have that choice to take because of medical conditions, as Shane mentioned with his employees, but you've got to find a place for those people to retain them if you can't have them physically there until this whole thing is over with. It's not an easy decision, but I know Carl's wanting a decision. So I think that's what he's waiting for.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me put some numbers on this, just to make it a little bit easier. We have 37 employees. 12 have confirmed that they are in fact vaccinated. The other 25 have either said that they're absolutely not or refuse to disclose that information. So that's kind of the position that we're in on that. As far as replacing employees, that's not really an option because we're covered under the FMLA, the Family Medical Leave Act. Every employee is entitled to 12 weeks of leave for medical reasons. So we could conceivably be in a, and this is kind of a worst case scenario is, I have one person on the field crew get sick. Well, everyone around them has to quarantine for 10 days. So they all quarantine, they're fine, they come back, then another one gets sick. and you can see this going on in succession for 10 days at a time, indefinitely, until everyone gets sick. And then if you've tested positive, you're exempt from the quarantine rules for 3 months. So then it starts all over again. It could really, it could spiral out of control. I think, for the most part, I think everyone's kind of looking at this somewhat appropriately. The biggest concern is, are we going to be able to perform the job at hand? And, there is, a very good likelihood that, like I said, we've had people exposed and had to quarantine, even now. And there's a very good likelihood that that's going to continue, that we're going to see more things happen that's going to affect us that way. So, what Jim is suggesting is that we have some kind of a backup plan or a mitigation strategy to address that. And, obviously, vaccines is one. I mean, if we had full compliance, everyone willing to get vaccinated, we wouldn't be having much of an issue. We wouldn't, overall. I mean, that's, the primary reason that the county's in the state it's in is because, we have a really low level of vaccinations. But I don't know that you're going to force people. Are people going to quit? I don't know. I mean, they might. They might just be blowing smoke. Who knows? It's a tough question, and like I said, I mean, there's three options available. We could continue how we're doing, hope for the best, deal with whatever bad things happen. We could try to be aggressive and issue a mandate, or we could try to be a little bit less forceful but try to incentivize the program. The reality is it's going to cost our organization if we lose people to because they're being quarantined or being sick. I mean, that's going to have an impact on us. How big of an impact? I don't know. I mean, we were able to basically shut down divert all of our attention to recovery from the fire without any real loss of service elsewhere. I mean, we were able to do that. Like
That's because we have a really good team that knows how to shift.
We've got a good bunch of people here. I don't know. It's like I said. I mean, it's a tough question, and one of the things how I've tried to approach this always is, everyone's got their own sources of data or whatever it is, and there's always a study show that this is worse. A study show that you don't do that, and I try not to give too much credence to any of that, because the whole idea with science is you're talking about probabilities and you're talking about relative uncertainty and that sort of thing. And until you go through and have peer review and that kind of stuff and actually come up with the more solid consensus, it's tough to if you want to cherry pick it, you're going to find what you want. And that's why I've really tried to focus on what is the guidance coming down from OHA, because that's where it's all being assimilated and put together as a policy. So that's kind of where my focus is. So if you say, well, the vaccines are unproven, or I'm not gonna. I try not to listen to that kind of stuff. Just look at what the official sources that are actually the peer-reviewed studies that's actually making sense, and that's. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just rambling.
But see, that's the point right there, Carl. All of us are in that stage right now. We're all kind of rambling because we all hear all this different stuff from all these different places, and we all have our own emotions and we all have our own stuff. I see you, Mike. But it's got to come back to, we're doing this because we are a public service and we have to do a good job.
Right.
And we have to have a plan B. I am not in favor of mandating vaccination. I'm just not, for a lot of different reasons. Do I understand everything else? Absolutely. I do, but I'm not in favor of mandates. Because I can't see where it's going to stop. If I could see a light in the tunnel, it would be a lot easier for me. And I think that's where a lot of people are at. So anyway, that's my opinion. But I also know that there's nurses leaving their jobs now and being offered jobs in other places because they won't be forced to get a vaccine. And what do you do with that information, you know? So anyway, I am really proud of the team that we have here, and I'd hate to have anything happen to any of them, all of them. And that's just where I'm at. I think we need to kick it down until September, and maybe we'll get more information, better information, but I doubt it. I think this is where it's going. I'm just, you know, we were told when we got the vaccines that everything was going to be better. We have people that have gotten the vaccines that have gotten sick. No, they haven't gotten as sick, but they've gotten sick. So, and we're being told we're going to have boosters, and not just yearly boosters, but anyway. So that's where I am right now. I'm not in favor of mandating. But I wish I had some really credible, good information. Either way.
You know, Carl has implemented measures to help mitigate any of this as well. In operations and maintenance, we have many of our staff members start their day from work from home. They don't come back here to the office. The inspectors start their days from home. So it helps alleviate that we're all here in a group. We got units of 2 that roll out, you know, they're outside, but you know, the premise was that if those 2 go down, then the other 2 are good. And so we have backup. And like I said, we didn't have any significant issues during the fire, but we were asked to go out there during a pandemic, out in the fire conditions, and do this in a short amount of period of time, and we did that. And we did it without anybody getting sick. As a matter of fact, there's been no time that I can ever think of in the 18 years I've been here, we used less PTO time because of sick. Now people just aren't getting sick over here. I don't know what kind of phenomenon that is. You know, it could be all various reasons. You know?
We are aware, the mask,
You know.
keeping clean, the distance,
Yeah.
we're aware. And I think that's super important, the aware part, just there.
Yeah, Mike waving his hand again.
Mike, go ahead.
Okay, real quick, I've had enough time, I think. You know, it sounds like your company is like a family. You've got 49 people. What would you do if someone in your family had a severe problem? You'd ask them, you get together and talk about it. What would it take maybe to get a letter out from Carl himself and from the board, telling them the problems they have and ask for their advice? Let them know you've got a great, huge decision that you might have to make sometime down the road. Could you help us with this condition? Get their feedback. Let them know that you have a problem that you could be facing. The last thing you want to do is lose employees for any reason. Let them know that's being thought about and ask for their suggestions. That's what I would do if a family member was found to be deathly ill and wanted to face his family and ask what he should do or we should do. Treat it like family. That's all I have to say.
I like that idea.
I do too.
Great idea.
Because I feel that we are family. Let's do that. That's why I was glad to see Kevin here. That's why I was glad to see so many people on Zoom and listening. And I really think it's for Shane for his input and everybody. All of your input has been helpful. Even if I disagree with some of it. That's the way we're supposed to do. I mean, to accomplish things, you have to have the discussions. You have to hear the hard stuff, and you have to keep moving forward. Anyway. So, let's revisit this in September. Let's get some input from the staff and stuff. We know that we do have some things out there now that we put into place because of COVID. Keep going forward with those, keep doing the masks and stuff like that. Get the input for our family. Let's do that and talk about it again in September. Ooh, I'm not gonna be here in September.
Still talking about it.
I'll Zoom it.
Okay, yeah, we'll always have the Zoom option.
I'll make sure I'm available to Zoom it. So, anything else on your report you want to go over, Carl?
Yeah, another big topic, actually, the Southeast Medford stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I knew this was gonna take a while, but let me just kind of give you a real recap of what's happening. Southeast Medford, get rid of this thing on top. Okay, so the Southeast Medford area, this is here we go. Okay, the area on the east side of the freeway between Medford and Phoenix, the North Phoenix Road area by Home Depot. It's in future growth areas. There's some developers out there talking about how to develop it. We've been talking with the city about how we're going to do that. Basically, what it ultimately is going to require is a connection to the interceptor, which is on the west side of the freeway. So they're going to have to go under Bear Creek, under the freeway, and bring a pipe up into here. It's kind of the opposite of the way it's going to develop, because it's going to develop from starting at the north side, adjacent to the city of Medford, and work its way south. The sewer is going to have to come from the south side and work its way north, which means that it's mostly going to have to get built before any kind of development happens there. And there's a lot of interest in developing it, obviously, and everyone wants to figure out, how the sewer is going to work, and how that's going to get paid for, and who's going to pay for it, and who's going to be the first one to start. And yeah, so what kind of, I've been kicking this around in my head for a while, and what I'd like to propose on this is, everything really kind of consistent with what we already have built into our code, but just to kind of lay it out for them. We have provisions for pipe upsizing. So if we require a developer to say, you need to put in a 12-inch pipe, even though an 8-inch pipe is all they need to serve their development, we have a provision to pay for that additional cost, that marginal cost to upsize that. So we have that already in place.
Yeah.
We have provisions for reimbursement districts, where if the developer builds a project and it benefits somebody else, then there's a way that they can recover some of that cost for that development. So, what I'm looking at is kind of a combination of pipe upsizing costs and reimbursement districts to, I guess, to help this work along. So what I would be proposing is, we would require, we would determine the size that they need to build, and where they need to connect. We would require all of the property owners out there to grant easements across their property so that it can be continued through. We would require them to build whatever they need to serve their own property, but in exchange, we would pay for all the upsizing costs. And it's significant. I mean, we're probably talking several $100,000 at least, for this whole project. It's not a small amount. And then where a person builds a sewer that directly benefits a different property owner, like if they have to build across one property to get to theirs, they would be able to establish reimbursement districts for that other property owner, so they can help recover some of their costs that way. But, what I'd like to do is just kind of put this all together in a proposal, give it to the city of Medford and the developers, just so they have a place to start. Because right now, they're all kind of posturing and we're not gonna build this because it benefits you, and we're not gonna spend anything, they're kind of staking their grounds there, and, I get it, I mean, they're in business, their job is to make money and to, get stuff built as cheaply as possible. They'd love it if we build the whole thing for them. But, we don't want to do that. But this will at least, solve this one problem for them. They've got a lot of other issues that are not sewer related, but this will, at least put them in a position where they know what's going to happen with the sewer. It does put, it would commit us, like I said, to some pretty significant cash payments. I mean, like I said, it's going to be several $100,000 or more. And we'll get it back one way, eventually as the place develops. And it's a big area, so they're talking about thousands of residential units and stuff. So it's not, it's worth it to get it.
Well, and we need it.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be residential for the most part, and it's needed. But yeah, you're right, we've got stuff in process. Just give them the information, let them, go from there. I like it, Carl.
I had one quick clarification on this, Carl, mostly for me, a little selfish, but I know we've talked about this a lot. But I just wanted to maybe, I don't know if you want to clarify this, if this is too far deep in the weeds, just let me know. But we had talked about reimbursement districts and the number of reimbursement districts. And like you said, the developers are going to only want to extend as far as they have to for every phase of the project. The concern is that we're going to have multiple reimbursement districts for every single extension that happens here. Is it possible for us to require them to extend the sewer across their property to the next property or to the right of way?
That's all I have to get off. No, I've already got that much so far. But you can have the.
Yeah, our code has a provision for what's called reasonable conditions, and it's exactly that. I mean, we can require developers to do things as long as it's a reasonable condition. So there is provisions for that. I mean, obviously, we wouldn't want anyone to have to build far beyond their property, but through their property is not unreasonable or unusual type of condition.
Yeah, I like that.
Hey, Carl, Jim Snyder here.
Yes.
I'm already a half hour late for a antibiotic infusion I need to have. So I'm going to have to drop off. So it doesn't look like there's any more decision making going on here. Good meeting though. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you. Okay. So I guess on this, I mean, if I can just get a consensus from the board, if they want me to proceed in this manner, that's reasonable.
I think so. Jim, is that okay? Mike?
Yep, it's good with me.
Okay. I was going to give you a PowerPoint slideshow on the history of the RVSS, but I'm not going to do that because it's been a long meeting. So,
Hallelujah. Sorry.
That's okay. When I mentioned we have to go back to work. Eventually.
Well, I have a 1:30 meeting that I probably shouldn't have accepted. It's just with a couple of coworkers, so I'll be okay.
okay, so that's all I have, I think. Yes.
Okay, thanks, Carl. So we got all of that. Okay, we got the claims. So I need a motion to pay bills.
So moved.
I so motion.
Okay, we got a motion that you're a second, Mike.
Okay, I second it too and third it.
Okay, good. So do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Are we gonna roll call that?
Oh, yeah, we got a roll call back.
Kay Harrison.
Yes.
Mike Parker,
Yes,
Roger Tom.
Yes.
You don't need a motion to adjourn. You're allowed to do it on your own.
You just
Okay,
did
we're
it.
going.
I motion we adjourn.
Okay, we're good, we're gone. Bye, Mike. Bye, Mike. Bye, Mike.
Thanks for including me.
I think
Bye-bye.
Yeah, really. I knew this was gonna be hard.
There's Jack's. Roger. I need your signatures on things.
You know what? Well,
You gotta go?
no, I haven't been to Umpqua Bank yet.
Lucky
So
you.
it's not, hopefully it's not a check.
This needs to go to Umpqua Bank.
Oh, I don't have to go there?
So
Make them come to you.
So what we need you to do is sign. I think we're going, once you go, this is the part you need to fill out, this page.
It's just a signature page. so
Yeah,
I don't have to go
so,
there.
no, you do have to go in, because they have to verify, they have to do an ID check on you in person.
I can go maybe.
Yeah, and just leave it with them and we'll come and pick it up.
What?
What's that?
Oh, that's, so you want me to take this in?
Yeah. Yeah, because they need to verify your ID.
I'm okay with that.
Okay,
I just,
Yeah.
okay, so
They need to know that you was you.
so
you
you're,
don't need any other.
you're not on there because these are renewal ones.
Okay,
Okay, but you,
so you're, okay, you think this is good?
yeah, and so this part, you need to, I think. This time, so you need to sign here. I guess June already got that information. So you just need to go in there, show them that, show them your ID, so they verify that it is you,
Okay.
and then leave it with them, and then we'll pick it up, and then we'll be done.
All right, thanks, Carl.
There's one sandwich left. Do I tell her to see if it's Texas?
I just throw it in the middle of.
I did it in 20 pieces.
Six. Yeah, see what the dog pile.
Oops, I, stop that.